welcome back with a brand new look to our podcast here at Narson Studios. My name is Manahil, and I'll be your host for this podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us, Mr. Kyle Smith, who is the founder and CEO at Gremm Studios, which is a leading game development and design company working on Unreal Engine. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Kyle.
You're very welcome. Excited to be here.
Before we dive into any further details of all the experience you have gathered of the industry, I would really like you to start by asking you a little about your company. What kind of services do you offer, and what was the spark that ignited your passion for game development? How did you end up leading Gremm Studios?
So, it kind of goes back about 8 years ago. I got extremely sick, and they kind of didn't know what was wrong. They kind of just prescribed medicine and were kind of treating symptoms. It was kind of my strength of will. I had to kind of figure out to get better. And one of the things I found was playing and most importantly, like learning things about how to make games helped me recover a lot. So I kind of realized that that was my calling at that point. So when I got well enough that I could return to the world and stuff like that, enrolled in Full Sail University in their game design program. I officially graduated in March of 2021. Right off the bat, I got jobs as senior developer because they loved my skill set so much. And then I met Previn, who is the head of or founder and CEO of Cereverse Labs. And I worked as his head of development on his Unkai project. Let's see, until end of 2022, when that project kind of took a step back due to the NFT market changing and stuff like that. At that point, I felt it was the time to start my studio, which was always my dream. It was my end goal to run it. So we formed officially in March of 2023. And kind of the premise for the studio is I wanted to make a studio that was like a positive force, in the community that not only took the feedback of people but also provided value to our competitors as well. Just to make everything. We don't say anything bad. We don't do anything bad. We always give positive encouragement to everybody, so that way we can make the industry better as a whole.
So, moving on to the first question for our session. Compared to other game engines, what unique advantage did Unreal Engine offer that made it perfect fit for Gremm Studios?
The biggest thing that made it such a great asset was a lot of the built-in features. I've used Unreal Engine a lot over the years, and it's a great platform. It's got a lot of stuff built in. But with like UE5, which just came out, it's a whole nother level. It's basically a completely different system. It's got so much built into it that it saves production time, because instead of you having to have a coder sit there and go through and code the simplest stuff, they can work on more important things because Unreal's already done it for you.
Exactly. That's what I was just reading up on more of Unreal Engine information, and I came to know that Unreal Engine 5 has so many other features that we previously didn't know before. And we were still exploring into that, what it could offer for all kinds of businesses that are moving towards Unreal Engine's platform. So, the gaming landscape is constantly changing. How has Gremm Studios utilized Unreal Engine's unique capabilities to stand out in the competitive market?
For the most part, we're using their biggest platform. Like Unreal Engine is one of the few platforms that use the Niagara particle system, which is the kind of the newest system. You get the most detail, the most control over it. And with that system being built in natively to Unreal, we've been able to make like our power effects in our games pop a lot more, be so much more noticeable, give it that really realistic feeling. and we've really utilized that, and it's been almost a god save that it was built into Unreal, because I know to import stuff into, say, like Unity, it takes a lot of work. It's not impossible, but takes that extra step that it's nice to have somebody who's already done it. We
Exactly.
know that there's features that we're going to use. Unreal has the ability to facial map now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it uses your webcam, and it can facial map for like animations and stuff like that. We know we're going to use that when we get to our art stage, because we don't have to hire or rent a big motion capture studio anymore. We can do it all in house.
So you really talked about Unreal Engine 5. So we know that Unreal Engine 5 is a game changer for developers. What excites you most about its potential, and how do you see Gremm Studios leveraging its features in upcoming projects?
Thing that excites me most about Unreal Engine 5 is, coming from somebody who messed with like Unreal Engine 3 and 4, is it feels like a completely new platform that they've basically just started with. It's got all the next gen stuff ready to go in it, and the way that they have it designed, you could see that there's a lot more they're working on the backside that is getting ready to release or will be released at some point, and it's going to be probably game changers in it. With Grim Studios, we kind of go off of what we need and what's in there. And then I kind of make the decision of how or what direction we want to go. And with UE5, I have the ability of, say we want to do something like this, A, B, C, D, E. Well, we can use the Unreal Engine, and we can use their latest stuff to take that to a whole nother level that some of the other engines aren't quite to that level anymore, or at that level yet. Sorry.
Okay, so it'll be like the next step for your company, and that's like the one thing that Gremm Studio has that others don't at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have two games that we're building actively, and they're both in UE5.
Oh, okay. So let's talk ROI. Can you tell me the impact Unreal Engine has on companies? Are we talking about cost savings, increased efficiency, or perhaps reaching new markets altogether? And can you also share some examples of how Unreal Engine has transformed businesses?
Well, yeah, I mean, having Unreal Engine, because like the biggest thing that I've noticed with game studios is you'll see a lot of the big ones, like Project Red. You see Blizzard. I'm trying to think of all the ones. The ones that use their own in-house studios, that have their own engines. They spend a lot of money in development um, and maintenance, and making sure that their engines stay top of the line, that they're constantly working like they're supposed to, and it's giving them the features that they actively want in the game. And with that said, that's great. I mean, if you have the money to do it, absolutely. But for some of the smaller studios, like Grimm Studios, or the other indie studios that are out there that are just getting started, having a platform that has somebody who does all that for you, so all you have to do is download it and then build your game inside of it, makes things a lot easier, because all you have to do is basically pay them the difference in the agreement. I think it's like they take 25% or something like that of your total revenue after $100,000, and that's a lifesaver for younger and smaller studios, because you can use it, you get that high level AAA engine, and you don't have to worry about maintaining the engine because they're taking care of it for you.
I believe that Unreal Engine is about creating experiences, right? So, how do you see this bridging the gap between cutting edge tech and emotional storytelling? Can it help companies forge deeper connections with their audiences?
Absolutely. Because me, as a gamer and have played games all my life, you can definitely see which game engines they have to do like a hybrid for, like with, say, like a cinematic or something like that.
Hmm.
You could tell that they have their in-house engine or their engine that does the game, and then they have like a renderer that does the cinematic and stuff like that. And it works. There's nothing wrong with that. But with Unreal Engine, it's already built in. So you get a lot more customization in your cinematics. So like if you have a character where you can like customize their appearance and stuff like that, have special armors. When you get the with the cinematic machine in Unreal, you get all that customization that the players made. So when you see these big stories that are being told, it makes the character or the player feel more of they're actually in it than just watching it from the outside.
Hmm. So that's like the storytelling. You can create an entire story based off
Yeah,
the platform.
you can create an entire story or movie. All the tools are there, and you can make it much more impactful to the player.
All right. So I see that you have like your entire gaming studio at this point. So what has been your biggest technical hurdle while working with Unreal Engine or another platform? And how did you learn from it and improve your development process?
Really, the biggest hurdle that I've ever had, even at other studios, is the packaging side of it. So once you have the game built and you're
Mhm.
going to have like Unreal or Unity package it into the installer, right? The biggest issue is just all the fine little detail that you have to do, like in the keys and stuff like that. Um, Learning from my mistakes, there's been instances where I'm sitting there and I'm having an issue and it won't build, it won't build. And then one benefit of Unreal Engine is the support forum, so you can reach out to fellow developers in the field. Um, there have been instances, I will admit to, that were like kind of a no-brainer. You're like, really? That's the reason why it wasn't working. I had this one checkbox checked, and everybody at the studio makes fun of me for it because I had it's like we were shipping our first game that we shipped, and I had the development build thing checked, and that's why it didn't work. So I'm like, really? We spent 3 hours trying to figure out what's wrong with this, and here was a little checkbox right in front of me. So it's kind
Wow,
of,
little
yeah,
bugs.
yeah, it's just kind of that you learn to fine check your stuff a little bit more just to make sure that you save yourself a little bit of grief or hassle in the future.
So, moving on to our next question. With the rise of metaverse and Web3, how do you see the marketing strategies of Unreal Engine powered games shifting in the future?
Well, one benefit of with the metaverse stuff, if more people use Unreal Engine since it's available to them, is it
Mhm.
makes integration between fellow systems a lot easier. Because yes, you can integrate two games, like if say one was made with Unity and one was made with Unreal, but there's a lot of architecture that needs to be done with that.
Mhm.
Whereas if everything's built on Unreal, they're basically it's just the same game, just different versions of it or different levels. So it would be a lot easier to integrate everything. So that way we can take the metaverse to the next level by having everything interconnected with each other. And Unreal would be a good platform for that because of all the architecture that's pre-built for it, and everybody would be using the same engine.
So, traditionally, advanced technologies meant hefty price tags and limited access, but Unreal Engine seems to be changing that. How is Unreal Engine becoming more accessible, allowing smaller companies and even individual creators to tap into its potential?
Yeah, definitely. I remember a time where Unreal Engine, I want to say for the full version, was I think you had to pay like 100,000 for the license for it.
Hmm.
And otherwise, if you wanted the free version, which you could use, it only had X features out of what the actual platform can do. So you were very limited with it. With let's see, what was it? I want to say within recent history, so like within 2 or 3 years, Unreal changed its pricing platform from the you buy the license from us and then you do whatever you want to we're going to give you everything. And then when you start making money, then we'll take our small little percentage out of that. So that way you don't have to worry about the financing when you're trying to start. You guys
Mhm.
can go and make your games, make them however you want, and then we'll take care of that stuff later. And I think definitely for smaller studios that's helped a lot
Yeah,
because
like an
now,
equity
yeah.
system for the smaller
Say that again.
companies, like an equity system.
Yeah, it's definitely helped because um, studios now can go ahead and develop, and then they know that when they hit the mark, then they take care of the financing, but they're already good at that point. So it's
Hmm.
not like kind of like a something they were unaware of starting off. It's it's all there, it's all for them, and everything's up front.
All right. So, um, lastly, I would just like to ask you, what advice would you give to aspiring game developers and studios on building a successful brand and growing their audience using Unreal Engine?
Biggest thing I would say to starting developers and people coming out to their studios is there is a lot of negativity that's in the world today, and not just with games, with movies, TV shows, pretty much everything. There will always be the people that will find something negative about your product. The biggest thing that people should realize is don't listen to it because those people are going to be there no matter what. You all you need to do is focus on making the product that you want to make and making it the best that you can. And if at the end of the day you make a product that's everything you want it to be and it releases, then you've succeeded. Don't let the negativity get to you. Only focus on the positives that come out of it. And with Unreal Engine, you'll get a lot of positive on the core mechanics of the game. So people can't well, people usually won't sit there and say, oh well, this game had bad movement and stuff like that. Well, with Unreal Engine, all that stuff's been pre-built, it's been tested and tried, so that you'll get a much more realistic feedback from the player base with Unreal Engine that you wouldn't get, say, inherently with a system you had to build all from scratch. So it
Okay,
kind of helps take the negativity down a little.
so I think this is going to be like a bonus question for our podcast, which is we're talking about AI powered characters, real time ray tracing, and building entire virtual worlds. So, Kyle, with these futuristic features, where do you see Unreal Engine taking companies in the next few years?
Whew. I could say it's probably going to be a wild ride. We're going to see some interesting stuff, especially with AI. I
Mhm.
know Unreal Engine, I read a forum that they are planning of integrating an AI system to where developers can tell the AI what they want. So they can be like, I want a fantasy world that looks kind of like this, and it will go ahead and render everything for you and come
Mhm.
up with it. And I could see that will be a god save for smaller studios because world building and stuff like that takes a long time to do sometimes, especially with like big games. And having the ability of an AI that will do it all for you, or at least get you close enough to where you can do your fine details and stuff, is
Mhm.
going to completely change the way games are made.
But wouldn't that take over what you're already producing?
Yeah, it would a little bit. What I always looked at it with the AI is it's kind of it's a system that yes can do everything that a developer can do, but you have to know what you're talking about to an extent to have the AI know what it's doing correctly. Um, it's kind of like I always use the analogy. It's like talking, just to somebody from an older generation that never grew up with computers. You could sit there and say, hey, you go to fix your phone, you go to this application, you do this, do this. To them, it sounds completely gibberish, but you know what you're talking about. So you kind of AI is the same way. You have to know how to ask it to get it to do the right action. Otherwise, you're never going to get any traction on that. So the developers will still have a big connection with it, and knowledge and product knowledge will be always key to that.
Mhm. So you don't really think that AI is a threat to us? It's actually beneficial for us.
It's definitely going to be beneficial
Mhm.
because because one thing with AI is AI will do a lot of legwork for you, but the fine detail, that artistic eye that is part of human nature, will always need to be added on to it. And with that, AI won't really replace, it will kind of just help. It will be there as a safety net for people to get them that extra level of quality that we haven't experienced just yet.
So before I conclude off this podcast, do you have anything else you would like to add for anyone else interested, any viewers or businesses that want to start with Unreal Engine?
Yeah, one thing I would always add, just from learning from experience, is just trust yourself. If you're a developer, if you whether you've gone to school and got a degree or you're self-taught, you're starting your own studio, trust that you know what you're doing, because you wouldn't be in that situation if you didn't. Getting in your head a lot, and kind of second guessing your abilities can hinder a lot of people early on. There's tons and tons of resources out there. The developer community as a whole is very supportive. So there's people out there that you can ask help with, and don't be afraid to ask help. There's no shame in saying, "Hey, I've spent 3 days trying to fix this issue. I need help with it." And then somebody's like, "You know what? You forgot to do this one thing." And then that will save you problem. It's always that second pair of eyes that goes so much and so far to help people.
Mhm. So before we wrap up, I want to extend my gratitude to our guest from Gremm Studios, Mr. Kyle Smith, for sharing their expertise and insights into the potential of game development with Unreal Engine. As we conclude this episode, stay tuned for more captivating conversations right here at Narson Studios. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great being
So,
here.